human beings. You talk of vibes and vibrations.
Vibrations. Yeah.
You must believe there's more to you than just your physique. You see, you hear, you smell, and there's more to it than the senses.
He served as the chairperson of the African Union from 2007 to 2008, chairman of the Economic Community of West African States for 2 terms. He was the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs representing Ghana's delegation to the United Nations, Chief Legal Officer, and City Manager of Kumasi, the second largest city in Ghana. He attended the best college in the world, Prempeh College, and served as the second president of the Fourth Republic of Ghana from 2001 to 2009. With his astute leadership skills, he was able to bring Ghana out of bankruptcy to let the Ghana cedi compete with the US dollar. When it comes to politics, Ghanaians say the difference between the NPP and the NDC is him. He is my role model, and following his footsteps has always been my dream. He truly needs no introduction. So please help me in welcoming Ghana's finest gentleman, His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor. Senior, welcome to the SuperHuman Mindset. And to my listeners, I call him Senior because he went to the best college in Ghana. We refer to ourselves as seniors. So before I start, do I call you Your Excellency or Mr. President or Senior?
You already called me Senior. So let's continue with that.
All right. Perfect. It's rather unfortunate that right now I can't get up and give you a handshake or even hug you because of what we are going through. But it's my honor to be here with you today.
I'm happy you're coming.
In order not to take a lot of your time, I just want to dive right into it. What I've always wondered was, throughout your entire career, I know a lot of people have pivotal moments that change their career. When would you say that time was for you?
Well, if you are taking my entire life into consideration,
okay,
I would say perhaps in my very early times when I decided that it would be public service I would want to live my life in and for.
Mm-hmm.
And so deciding to be a lawyer, and then at Oxford University deciding to also give myself the opportunity to understand history and how people in history who had opportunity to lead their nations, how they did it. Because I studied philosophy, politics, and economics there to add with the law. And I believe that rounded me, gave me the mindset to push in public life. Thank God it worked out for me.
Wow.
So that's the pivotal. Like I had the opportunity to prepare myself for this sort of service I came to render eventually.
So was it very common at that time for someone to sit down and say, I want to get into public service. Let me go do law, let me study philosophy, let me study all of these things, put it all
when
together.
You say common, there was nothing common about it. It was very personal. Straight from school, I went to London, Lincoln to study to be a barrister, which I thankfully qualified for in 1961.
Wow.
At that time, I was just 22 years and a bit. Wow. And then straight from there to Oxford University, initially to continue with the law, but after the first year I changed. I thought it wasn't law as such I wanted to live my life in or for, that it might be for politics. And for politics, you couldn't do better than to get initiated into a bit of philosophy, then politics itself, and then economics. Combination is a course crafted in Oxford University. And when you get to know a bit of the British history, I would say most of their prime ministers, they came from Oxford University, and most of them got exposed in that degree, which gave them the rounded approach for politics.
How was that decision making for you?
I say personal, because there was something in me urging me to look in that direction. And somehow I had the courage of my conviction, I may put it that way, to go that way.
Wow. So then after that, you decided to move back to Ghana.
Yes.
How was it?
Well,
at 22, you were enjoying life. You were a barrister.
Well, I'm a Ghanaian through and through. And those times in the 60s, I thought perhaps life would be better here in Ghana than staying in London. And, it wasn't my country. Ghana was my home. So I decided to come, and I was encouraged to come back by my family.
Okay. So when you look back at your wiser and elder self now, like we just mentioned, you talked about all the experiences you've had in life. When you look at that decision, when you were making that decision, what would you tell young Kufuor, Lincoln's Inn, moving from there to Oxford? What would you tell him today?
I've talked of my family. They perhaps sensed that I had some talent in the direction I would go, and they encouraged me. But I would say essentially it was young Kufuor deciding for himself. I saw the talents, and I said, this was what I believe I could do best, and I followed. With the encouragement of family.
So I remember watching one of your interviews, and one of your very good friends, he was saying he was in London with you, and you decided you wanted to come back to Ghana. And he was just like, why would you do that? So from what you were saying, it's more like you had a personal inclination.
That's it.
How do people get to know that personal inclination about themselves?
People get to know themselves. You must know yourself. You must listen to your inner being. And then follow what this inner being would suggest to you. So I tended to listen to my inner being. I tried to know myself, what I could do best, and followed.
Are there specific things you do on a daily basis that help you get to know yourself more? Do you have like a morning routine? Anything that Kufuor does that makes him the special Kufuor?
Kufuor listens to himself. Wherever Kufuor finds himself, Kufuor tries to feel. We've got if you like, sensors in us. Human beings. You talk of vibes and vibrations. You must believe there's more to you than just your physique. You see, you hear, you smell, and there's more to it than the senses. There's something we dream dreams. And then when your mind is working well, and you take things around you into consideration, the society, your well-being, the well-being of family and all that, well-being of your nation, you then begin to have visions, dreams, and then begin to think, so this thing, suppose we approach it this way or that way. And then, as I say, because nobody's an island, they say. You've traveled around the world, like you had opportunity to live in Britain for some time, saw how that country was organized. You begin to ask yourself, so if they could do it there, why can't we? do it here.
Yep.
And perhaps even do it better for ourselves. When you begin to question yourselves this way, and then you know yourselves, you know your capabilities, talents, and so on, and you have the courage to move in the direction of trying to realize the vision, before you know, society begins to appreciate you.
Yep.
They give you a chance. And then you go. You are challenged to try to realize that vision. Community for yourself, for the change, the transformation that should come.
It's really interesting you mentioned this because I think one of your interviews that I watched, I think his name is Dr. Richard Anane, if I'm quoting
yes,
it right.
Dr. Anane.
He was saying both of you would stand in front of their PJFE in Kumasi, and then you'd be dreaming about what you could do and all the things that you could become. So dreaming looks like it's a big deal for you. How did you come to that?
Yeah, coming from America, I'm sure you know a bit of late Martin Luther King.
Yes.
I had a dream.
Yes.
He was saying something real to me. And if he had it, others could have it. And say when I grew up in Kumasi, life was good and beautiful. Time I was leaving Ghana for studies abroad, 59. Ghana had become independent. Gold Coast got independent, independence 57, and the name became Ghana. Kumasi became a hotbed of politics, some violence, people feeling there was something amiss that should be put right politically. That's how it grew. So 59, I was leaving Ghana. Just 2 years after independence, a law had been passed, Preventive Detention Act, by which a citizen could be thrown into detention for 5 years without trial. And it was happening to people I knew.
Wow.
So I came back and things had gotten worse. A country that didn't know any poverty in terms of, say, famine and got back, things were so harsh. So, through my studies, of course, I followed up on the trends in Ghana. And it seemed they were getting worse for the nation, for its communities, for people. So I said, listen, if there's going to be a change, it would have to come from
you,
from citizens. The people themselves must effect the change, including me. So I was trying to see how could I contribute was finding a solution. And of course, the training, I've told you, the courses I read, the history I read, they try to understand the world, the larger world. Because geopolitics,
yes.
A lot of things happen in a country that are sort of driven, affected from outside. We complain of neocolonialism and all that, meaning there are forces from outside designing things here so they would benefit to our loss. So how do we correct it so that at least it will be win-win? Because
both sides.
We may need their technology, we may need their capital, we may need their markets, investments. If that's the case, why do they come here? They may also need something from us. So how do we ensure that even as they come, we may not be able to stop them, we would get something out of them? The things we have deliberately considered and negotiated for. So, because the current times are not like earlier times when they came to enslave and to colonize and that sort of thing. These days, they come wanting licenses and that sort of thing. So if you are in government, you're going to give that license. What do you demand in return? Not for you personally, but for your nation.
Wow.
You get me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So dreaming and sharing dreams with like-minded people, like you mentioned, Dr. Anani. He had been a student leader, I think, in his university days at Tech, full of spirit, wanting to serve the community, wanting to do something good. And so we became friends. I was moving into politics. I had even been in politics already because I got elected to Parliament in 1969.
Oh, wow.
At the age of 30 and was Deputy Foreign Minister.
Wow.
That time, Anani must have been but I became a sort of role model for him and became friends around 1990.
At 30.
So when, I showed signs of wanting to contest for the candidacy of my party, I assembled some friends of his, like-minded youngsters, to back me. And that's how anytime I got to come and then would stand right in front of my family home and we'll talk endlessly about things.
Wow. So my dad always says this. He says,
yes.
So for you, I think that they would call that mentorship. How did mentorship affect your career?
It affected me a lot. And here, I think where I was born really put me on a trajectory. But along the way, talked of school and that sort of thing. Through the boarding schools and the schools I attended, I began discovering myself, saying that somehow I got on well with people generally, and also had a bent or a tendency of service. Wanted to be useful to people, and people reciprocated by always tending to push me forward to lead. And then the political thing, I described myself as political. Around 54, there was the main opposition to the CPP. Happened in Kumasi, the National Liberation Movement. And my home became the headquarters.
Oh, wow.
So I got to see the leadership of the National Liberation Movement at work. I was a young boy, but 54, 55, 56, big names in national politics on the opposition side used to pass through the office in my home, and they came inside the house from time to time. So Professor Buzia and some of his colleagues got to know Victor Osio. So by 59, when I left Prempeh for Britain to read law, Professor Buzia had left Ghana into exile. Was in Holland, teaching at the Leiden University.
Okay.
My family had a house in London where I lived, and around 1960, Prof. Buzia was visiting and came to the house. I was then tackling the finals of the law, the bar, and he saw me, chatted, and asked what my plans would be, because that time, 60, I was 21 or so, during the bar final. So, me being a teacher, must have sense. So, what do you do? Suppose you finish. I said I would go to Oxford. So, which college? Because I knew Oxford full of colleges, and Oxford was Oxford as far as. So I said, any college. But he had studied there. And so he said, he told me of his moral tutor when he was a student in the 1940s. Wow. The man was still there, heading one of the colleges, Exeter College. So I said, if that man, your boss, your moral tutor was still around, then would be the person I would want to study under.
Oh, so that's how you ended up at Exeter. Nice.
And of course, as I said, Buzia impressed me so much. And in fact, was like my role model. And then our meeting so directly, personally, and the way he became my referee to Oxford.
Wow.
Focused the mentorship from him to me. And from then on, from 1960, I tried to understand his politics, his human values. And so that's, then I had become a lawyer already, 61, before I went to Oxford. When I came back, January 65, straight to Kumasi, the chambers I entered to practice law was Victor Osu's chambers. And Victor was like a brother. And his thoroughness at work and the way he prepared his briefs and that too. So between the two of them, and of course the family background, that's where I got my direction.
Wow. Wow. So for the normal average person looking at you who says, I don't know anyone who can be a Buzia, I don't know anyone who owns a law firm like Victor Osu, how do I find a mentor?
That person would not be looking around enough. Because if that person really harbors any ambition in any field, let alone politics, he would be looking, if it's business, you would want to know, how did that man, successful businessman, make it? You would want to know about him and what he did. Mentorship does not mean direct contact. Sometimes a role model, you may never meet, but you study the person, how he did it, the background, the risk-taking, the vision, the understanding of the markets, and all those things. When you study, and it says they are role model, they are your mentors. So you don't need to have come directly by the people who you look on as mentors.
Okay.
But you need to know of them, study them, and then try to incorporate the virtues or the good points you see in them in you.
What I hear you saying is success leaves clues. So if you follow their footsteps, you are definitely going to get there.
That's it.
Wow. That is deep. Okay. I know we are getting to the end of our time here, so I'm not going to take a lot of your time. But what I want to ask you is 2 questions, and then we can end. Number 1, if you were to go back, would you change anything?
Why should I want to change anything?
What would you do better?
Do better? I will tell you, right from younger days, I came to know that it's not a perfect world.
Okay.
You will try to achieve, if you like, perfection. But I do not know anybody, barring religion, of course. I'm a Christian, so yes, I would accord perfection to Christ. But barring him, I do not know of any human that attained perfection. So you try, you set your sights, you have an idea of the limits, and then it's a greasy pole. You climb. Sometimes you slip, but you keep on trying, and then it gets to a point. Humans full of weaknesses and all that sort of thing, so you drop a bit. But when you consider, say on hindsight, you put everything back together, and you look at the pole and see how far you've come, you have to be thankful. And so I do not regret at all for the life I've lived so far.
So, senior, at this age, in all your wisdom, what would you say is your number 1 superpower?
Superpower in the world?
Yes.
No. I don't like your question. I don't like your question. We are talking ideals.
Yes, absolutely.
Ideals, I may not say, if you are talking raw, not idealism. If you are talking raw power, as the so-called developed world, the United States, China these days, European countries, they are not, may not be as powerful. But when you look at their history, a tiny country like, geographically tiny like Britain, has achieved heights in history that would make, it was Britain that created the United States, for instance. Created Canada, created Australia, subjugated India, colonized all of us. As part of a country like Britain, you begin to wonder. So if you want to measure greatness, you want to look at that country. So they have something there that we should appreciate. Or if you like Germany, for raw efficiency and toughness of decision, they've achieved a lot, even though they lost wars and all that. Or China, they would show you a history of about 3,000-4,000 years of literacy, of, if you like, civilization. And they slumped, they virtually faded out of greatness, but within a short space of time, the past 40 years or so, see, because of their very compressed, deep histories, when they started moving again, all within 40 years, see what they did. So they are all great in their own ways. But I would also tell you, even here, we have history. And when we get to learn and try to get the wisdom of our ancients and try to live by them to transform ourselves, we may surprise people around the world. So me, I do not have superpower. If you are talking raw power, I know why they created bombs, they can destroy, there's technologies and so forth and so on. But I'm not unduly envious of them.
I was talking more about, so we talked about all the examples of what these small countries and all the great things that they can achieve. So more about the one thing that's so unique about Kufuor with him right now that nobody else has. That's what I mean by that power.
We are all, and this is why I also respect democracy, and I may prescribe it for others too, because everybody has got their individual identity. I do not want to be a carbon copy of anybody else. I want to be myself. And Kufuor, I'm one of 10 siblings, but we are all different. And everybody has got their assets. I respect the rest. I hope they also respect me. But if you like, I'll say, I am me. Just like any of them. I know them. They are all very strong-minded, full of personal identity. You've got something that nobody else may have. Even though these days we talk genes. Not even your sons may say, yeah, exactly like you are. So we've all got about different assets. It depends on how we go about individually trying to realize our best personalities. You get me?
Well, thank you so much. This has been wealth of information. I hope we can talk some more.
Well, I'm happy you came around.
Yes.
And happy you've given me this interview.
Thank you.
Let's pray that the world would get better, especially these days of pandemics and so forth and so on. Climate change, so mankind would find a solution to them. So the future would become relaxed for us to be able to move around, for you to come back from the United States, and with me, with the grace of God, perhaps extending my time a bit on when you come and we can relax, perhaps over a glass of beer or something. We can talk more. But for the time being, just happy you came around and we are able to do this conversation.
Thank you. Any final words for the young man who wants to be like Kufuor someday?
Well, it's my blessing for you. The world has changed so much from Kufuor's younger times.
Yep.
But we pray. That's why I say we should pray that the pandemics will go, Ghana would really emerge. It's a blessed country, full of natural resources, full of very nice people. We may become the envy of even some of the so-called developed world. So I bless you for your ambition.
Thank you.
It must be realistic though, and must also be legitimate. You don't force, even where there's no way. So reasonable growth for you, development, good luck.
Thank you.
And think of Ghana. Think of coming back to help grow the country. The prospects here are so great, I find.
Wow. Thank you, Senior, for your time. And God bless you, Senior. All right.